But I don't think it's time to press the panic button and trying to force feed Kelsey the ball right now. I think you continuously just play the game. There's going to be some natural times where he becomes open. And I think, like you said, the one thing we're going to miss in this matchup is we don't get to see him go against Darwin James. But there's going to be some other matchups all across the field.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Here we go. Welcome back to The Process, where the process is always greater than what it produces. I'm your guy, Shawn Barber, 10-year NFL vet. Man, the Chiefs are doing it, man. They're still one of the undefeated teams in the NFL, one of 5. And they took care of the Falcons this last week. When we know the process is always greater than what it produces, but before we do anything, I got to thank the McGinnis Group. It's our title sponsor. And yes, I do work for the McGinnis Group. We specialize in employee benefits, health insurance for companies, retirement, financial services, life insurance, and long-term health care. We would love the opportunity to review your company's current plans and learn more about your game plan for the game of life. So remember these words: together, everyone achieves more. TEAM, that's team. And let's be a part, bring your company to be a part of our team at the McGinnis Group. Reach out to Sonny, Matt, Scott, any of our guys, any of our producers. Contact me directly, Shawn Barber at the McGinnis Group. MGI team, we're one of the best in Kansas City. Let us look at your company and take care of your healthcare benefits. So without further ado, man, it's week 4. I'm gonna do a proper introduction for my guest as a guy. Each week we can have former Chiefs guys, teammates of mine. There's always this backstory of what's going on. But this week I wanted to mix it up a little bit. This week for the Charger week, instead of getting the ex-Chiefs guy, I wanted to get an ex-Charger guy. I wanted to get a guy, Western Illinois grad, I think it is, Western Illinois, pride of Western Illinois. My man, Mike Scifres. He's number 5 on your jersey, but number 1 in your heart. Really a jewel in the NFL as far as you talk about that golden leg. He punted a long time, 13 complete seasons in the NFL, a 14th training camp with the 13 years with the Chargers, the San Diego Chargers, and then 1 year with the Carolina Panthers. So without further ado, my man Mike, good to have you in the building. We're going to talk a little bit of Falcons. We're going to talk more about the Chargers. But yeah, what you got going on? Where you at? Where are we finding you at in your life right now?
Hey, appreciate you having me on, Shawn. So we 4 kids run us back to California, right? We lived in Kansas City for a little bit where my wife is from. And then 2 years ago, we decided to, take the leap and let our kids kind of dictate where we went. And they wanted to go back to Cali. So we came back.
Like Biggie said, going back to Cali.
Yeah. So back down in Southern California, just being a free Uber driver to kids right now.
Well, listen, I'm a father of 5 boys and a girl. So I know that life, unpaid Uber driving, it pays itself off in parent off and joy and happiness seeing your kids get places safely. So obviously the job of fatherhood is our top priority as men. And I love that, man. So
yeah.
I'm going to ask you some questions about yourself. Like I said, you had 13 years with the 13 years with the Chargers, and 1 year with the Panthers. I got some stats, man. And let me start with, do you know that you're part of a all-time great team when it comes to the Chargers? Do you know what the name of that team is? You're part of a certain team for the Chargers.
You've been awarded. The 50th anniversary group.
Yes.
I was fortunate for that one because there's been some great punters before me.
Well, I think that they got the right person. 50th anniversary team member for the San Diego Chargers. So with that honor, I wanted to say, hey, with your stats, all right, I want to see how close you come to your own career stats. Do you know, we'll play Price is Right rules, so closest without going over. The number of punts you had in your career, what would you guess the number of total punts in your career?
I don't know because we had some years that we didn't punt very many times.
Yeah,
we had a couple of those years with Norv Turner and Phillip and LT and our offenses where we didn't even. I had a year that I didn't punt 50 times. right? But then I also had a couple of years where I punted 80 plus. In 13 years, if I guessed, I'd say somewhere between 740 to like 750 punts probably.
Man, so I told you before the show, me and you chatted before the show, and I said I thought you would come within 30, all right? And you didn't let me down, brother. You didn't let me down. 756 punts during your career, illustrious career, for a total of, you want to guess the yardage? I know that's going to be a lot harder.
That is.
You're going to come within 300 yards of total yardage. We can give this a ballpark.
You know, it's crazy because I remember towards the end of my career, they did a running total, trying to do like the mileage between cities and San Diego, right? Yeah. And I think it was right around like that 35,500 yards or something like that.
All right, 34,152 total yards. Yeah. So you within 800. So, and that comes down to a career average of 45.2. I think anybody right now would sign it up in a heartbeat. This is not about, obviously, it's about the consistency over the length of your career. Everybody talks about Father Time is undefeated and players, NFL stands for not for long. Well,
right.
You was in the league 13 seasons. I played for 10.
Right.
I was an undersized linebacker. Hey, special teams is special for a reason because like some people's golf swing, sometimes, I mean, just a fraction of an inch of hitting that ball or your timing goes off by half a second. And now instead of the ball, peaking and turning over, it's starting to go off the side of your foot. You're not as consistent as you should be. And they're finding a younger model, a younger and cheaper model, no matter we're talking about linebacker or punter. They're always looking for a younger, cheaper model. So when I talk about guys that played 10 plus years, we fought off Father Time as long as possible before Mother Nature took over and Mother Nature took over. So,
and remember too, for you as a linebacker, I mean, that was back then when you played, the AFC West was one of the toughest conferences in football.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the AFC in general.
Yes.
I think as a whole. Right. And so to do that for that long, I think, and play that position in that conference week in and week out is a testament to what you did as a player anyway. Right.
Some of the offensive game plans, man, I thought they was focusing on just running the ball right at me every time.
Yeah.
I wanted to see, how many times I could take on the fullback before I broke. But 10 years later, I didn't break. I think my noodle's still in good shape. My mentals are still together for some reason. So I must have had a good helmet or a good hit on my shoulders or something going on. So, well, let's get into it, man. First segment, we're going to recap the Falcons game. Second segment of the show, we're going to do a little, pay a little bills, talk about Red Dog Grill, ingredients for success. And then in the third segment, we're going to talk about the Chiefs versus the Chargers. Mm-hmm. So really quick, man, Sunday Night Football, the Chiefs took on the Falcons. It was a 22-17 ball game. We won by 5 points. Patrick Mahomes threw for 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, one with the Ray Rice, one with the Juju. Of those yardage, over 110 of it, I think, was to Ray Rice. So featuring Ray Rice has been something we've been doing here lately. The running backs is now running back by committee. Pacheco got hurt. So Carson Steele came in. Carson gave us a really good day. 17 carries for 72 yards. Samaje Perine followed him with 6 carries for 25 yards. So altogether, almost 100 yards on the ground. A good balance, 2-to-1 ratio when it comes to passing and running. And then the defense, our defense, 2 late game 4th down stops to preserve a victory. Man, our linebacker Bolton over the first couple of weeks of the season was taking a lot of heat from the kingdom, from our own fans about his coverage ability, about being almost a detriment when it comes to 3rd down or passing downs because he was more of a run stopper. So he did show off that run stopping ability when we needed it on 4th down for that last play. But during the game, I think he was very instinctive the entire game. We had a bunch of guys showing up, like Shamari Connor had a great game. And then overall, our defense, we gave up 70 yards and a touchdown on a blown coverage on that first drive. So that's 7 points right there. And so we gave up 10 more points the rest of the game. Right. And I think, like I said, 2 of those drives ended on 4th and 4 down turnovers in the red zone. So that's when you got to stiffen your back, stiffen your neck. back against the wall. So if there's ever a time to play great defense, is in the red zone. I think that's something our defense has done now. Since Coach Spagnuolo has gotten here, they become just more and more feisty, more hardened when it comes to late in the game. They just get better as the game goes on, and as the tempo and everything, all the pressure increases. They have a lot of guys that show up and make a play. So really quick, the Chargers first 3 weeks, they were 2-0. Came off wins week 1 and week 2, and then they unfortunately lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 3 before that's their coming into the game. Yeah, but overall, I think the Chiefs did a great job against the Falcons. Obviously, Sunday Night Football, everybody, one game to watch, everybody's eyes on them, and they definitely came to play. But the one question I wanted to ask you is when it came to special teams, Bucker went 3 for 3. Phenomenal punting, all game changing the field from our punter. In those big games, when we talk about the difference between a win and a loss, how it's only a game of inches, and any one of those change of possessions always comes off of a foot. Making the field goal, missing the field goal, punting the game. In some of the biggest games, just speak to me of your thought process of how important it is to, be a champion in the moment and doing what you need to do when it comes to the third phase of winning, a third phase of every game when it comes to special teams.
Yeah, and to your point, that is a change of possession, right, off of a punt. And it was always emphasized for us that, that was the most important play. We had to win our punt game and flip the field at all costs, whether we were punting in, plus 50, you just take, with Marty Schottenheim, I remember one of the first punts I had as a player with him was from the 37-yard line going in. And I remember walking on the field this guy's giving me 10 yards of field to play with here. But there's a method to that, right? Let's see how good you are and how much you can control this possession. And, if you punt the ball 25 yards, well, great. That's their ball at the 8-yard line. Yes, now, they've got to go 92 yards, and the percentages don't bode well for the offense of going 90 yards, right, to score.
Yes.
So there's a chance you're going to flip the field and get that back. And then the same thing, punting from backed up. The big thing was always just get it past midfield and let our guys go play, right? No, don't try and be cute and hang it up in the air and get a fair catch at the 45-yard line. Get it to the minus 45-yard line and kind of let our guys play. So watching a Riesler the other night, he did that. He flips the field. And the kid's got a big live leg, so he's going to give you that, and he's left-footed, which we all know Dustin Colquitt for the longest time in Kansas City as a left-footed punter. That causes havoc on returners to catch the ball. Any returner you talk to will tell you that's a tougher ball to catch. I don't know why. Maybe a left-handed pitcher, right? Just the ball comes out different. So that's a big advantage. And then you have Bucker, who he's about as automatic as they come. He's fun to watch. He just kind of walks on the field, nonchalant, watch him hit the game winner against the Bengals. He's just yeah, all right, here we go, whatever, just put it down. I don't care, I'll kick it, right? And that's the mentality you want out of your guys, right? That carefree mentality, because then the guys, as you know, in the punt coverage team and on the kickoff coverage team, they feel that same mentality.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, shoot, if he's that confident in himself, then I'm that confident in him. Let's go cover for him.
Yes, sir.
And so I think that's a big part of it. And I think Dave Tope does a great job, obviously, his whole career of getting his guys ready to play. And as you said, on the biggest freaking stage, Sunday Night Football, where there's nothing else on but dinner and kids running around your house, everyone's watching. And the Chiefs, obviously, Andy's there's a method to it, and those guys have it rolling.
Yeah. Well, listen, to be in a locker room with punters and kickers, I know there's a lot of NFL players that always tries to downgrade. Oh, the punter, the kicker, they're not part of the team, blah, 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 blah. Listen, I'll tell you this, no matter what team I was a part of, I always considered our punter being a part of our defense and the field goal kicker being a part of the offense. Yes, the field goal kicker, listen, you're going to put up as many points, if not more, than our offense. You talk about the stretch of a season. A lot of times, who leads the team in points is the field goal kicker at the end of the day. And when you talk about field gain and putting team starting position inside the 15, inside the 10, one of the greatest weapons a defender can have is for the offense to start that backed up. because it limits the play call of the offensive coordinator. You know they're going to call it super safe. They don't want to turn it over in that point, so it's going to be a lot of safe runs, bootlegs, some simple. They ain't going to be airing it out, no pitch and goes and stuff like that. So the playbook gets so condensed when the offense has to start that backed up. Definitely a punter like yourself, or a reason you become a weapon to the defense, and you're almost the first line of defense before we even get out on the field.
Right.
So I know how important that is, and I definitely wanted to make sure that nobody who watches the process ever feels like our punter or our kicker is not a part of our team. I'm telling you, that is the most false. Yeah. That's what you say, capping. That's capping. That's whatever the young people say now. That is the furthest thing from the truth. I did want to talk about a quote from Bolton, right? Bolton said this about his fourth down play he made to end the game. Trust my keys, trust my eyes, trust the play call. Trust the play call we have. I already knew where it was going. So he had already, from a film study, from the situational ball, from offensive personnel and lineman assignment, when he saw that formation, he'd already made up in his mind, hey, this ball is going here. I'm going to shoot that gap. And either I got to make the play or not. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be super aggressive. I'm going to let my instincts play. And that kind of mentality is, I think, what differentiates him from being just a good linebacker to a great linebacker right now. Yeah. Some of the big play mentalities, obviously, like I said, when it comes to special teams, for you is that same thing. Is that coffin kick. Late in the game, it's only 2 minutes left. We're going to turn the ball back over to this other team, and we need you to either turn the field and make them go 80 yards, or like you're saying, from a plus situation, instead of them starting on the 20, 25-yard line, we want them to start inside the 10. But either way, it still is that mindset of now it's your job to get it done in a big manner. Speak on some of the process that you're, mentally you go through before that actually happens on the game.
Yeah, and I was big on, like, I followed every situation in the game, right? Like, I learned at my rookie year from Darren Bennett, who's,
yes, sir.
He's one of the best to do it, right? Like, he revolutionized the game. Like, guys aren't hitting that end-over-end drop punt if it weren't for Darren Bennett. Guys are still trying to coffin corner and do those things. And he always stressed, like, stay in the moment, like, stay in the game.
Yes.
Follow the ball. If you're going to hit a punt into the net, hit it before we change possession so that okay, first down, we got sacked. Okay, now my mindset changes. Now it's 2nd and 15 from that we played the 20-yard line touchback, right? Now it's freaking 2nd 15, and now my heels are on the goal line. Oh, shoot, now we just had a negative run. Okay, so now the kind of ball I have to hit, now that flips that fast. Now it's 3rd and 17, and I'm in the end zone. And shoot, these special teams coaches are like, I'm going to pin my ears back and either rush if I don't trust my returner, or there's a Dante Hall back there. I'm going 6-man. I'm doubling the gunners, and I pray he hits those bad ball, because when Dante gets it in his hands, he's going to score, right? Sure. So then as a punter, you're having to play that whole scenario in your head of like, okay, what's he going to do? And you take back to what you said about Nick watching film and knowing the play, and I used to always watch film and get tendencies on special teams coaches. And okay, 4th and short, they're going to go rush. 4th and 5 or more, they're going to set up a return because they don't want to give you that roughing the punter. Well, except when you have Bernard Pollard, who on a 6-man rush can freaking block a punt, right? Which is always scary.
Yes.
Right? And so like I always followed the situations, and then I was close with the offensive guys. Like I knew with Phillip, like not necessarily what they were running, but situational stuff. Like they would always kind of give me ins and outs on from the bench. Like, okay, look, this is what we got here. If we hit it, it's going to be good. If not, you're punting from back there. Right. And so like I always stayed in those, in the situation. So I knew what kind of punt I had to have.
Man, perfect, man. Staying in the moment, thinking about the risk reward on certain situations, the downing distances, the position of the field, how much time's left, whether the return team is going to rush or hold up. Everybody who thinks that you're just out there kicking the ball is just a freak. They have no idea how many different scenarios and situations goes through a punter's head throughout the game, throughout the scenario. So we're going to wrap up this first section. And when we come back, we're going to talk about ingredients for success. Obviously, like I said, our second segment, endorsing Red Door Grill. Red Door Grill is a neighborhood restaurant, 6 locations around Kansas City. And we're going to look forward coming back to you in the second segment when we talk about ingredients for success. With that being said, I'm Shawn Barber. You're listening to The Process. The process is always greater than what it produces. We'll be right back at you.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
All right, welcome back to The Process, where the process is greater than what it produces. I'm your guy, Shawn Barber. I got my man, Mike Scifres, 13-year former NFL punter for the Chargers, as we preview what's going on Sunday. The Chargers, the Chiefs actually going out to the Chargers to take on the Chargers. Chargers are 2-1 after a loss to the Steelers. The Chiefs are 3-0, one of the 5 undefeated teams left in the NFL. So with this, we always talk about the Red Door Grill. Man, they have phenomenal. I'm going to focus on their brunch menu on this episode. Red Door Grill, to begin with, this is a great neighborhood restaurant. They got 6 locations. Next to Leewood, Oakland Park. They got Brookside. They have Lee Summit and Liberty. So any of those locations will be a phenomenal chance to go by this weekend from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They serve brunch. What I always do is start with the meat and gravy. The meat and potatoes of the meal is, for me, it's going to be this brioche French toast. It speaks for itself. Light, fluffy. And I got a high one season. I stay away from sugar, so I try to say, can I get the French 1 powdered sugar, no syrup?
No sugar, no syrup.
Yeah, and I just eat it plain. So my doctor says, okay, that's kind of living on the edge, but hey man, I got to get that brioche French toast. And then we talked about earlier, we were talking about a balance between run versus pass. And so there's a couple of different menu items on that brunch menu. When you talk about the run versus pass, it's kind of like talking about the chicken and waffles versus the current burrito. So they got this chicken and waffles. It's a buttermilk tender, chicken tender, as a fluffy Belgian waffle with sausage gravy. To me, that speaks about the run game, the pound the game, just attacking the run gaps, getting downhill, trying to average 4 or 5 yards a carry, wanting to take the will away from the defense to play, especially late in the game, versus the cure burrito. And I'm gonna name these elements, these layers of. They got chorizo, and then there's some scrambled eggs, some avocado, poblano peppers, salsa, pico de gallo, and then some seasoned breakfast potatoes. So to me, that's like building that passing game. You go with the boot, and then you go with the spread. You go to all verticals. You go with the crossing, the triple threats, all the different ways to attack a defense through the passing game. So you got to decide when you get there which way you're going to go. Are you going to go chicken and waffles, or are you going to go the cure burrito? But whatever you do, you got to make sure it's balanced. And so I know the Chiefs, early in the season, we've been leaning a lot on the pass. We want to get to a 50-50 balance point. But when I look at the Chargers, early in the season, man, they was heavily in the running game. I think J.K. Dobbins actually was one of the number 1 running backs in the league going in weeks 1 and weeks 2. He was averaging almost 10 yards a carry until last week. And I think that they're going to try to look back to get maybe back to that process. And we can speak into that because there's some issues going on with the injury at the quarterback position. So, Mike, what do you think they're going to, the Chargers might do looking into week 4 against the Chiefs as far as trying to create some balance?
Well, I mean, I think that they'll, keep trying to get the run game going. It's worked. With Herbert going down the way he did, the last 2 weeks, right? Because remember, he originally hurt it against Carolina, and then he came back, no practice, tried to play on it, and got rolled up on it again. So and then going into a bye after this game, I believe, like, do you want to risk him going out there and potentially further hurting it, or
let him heal up, right?
Yeah, let him just kind of take the 2 weeks, and see where you can go. And then that plays big because you bring in a Taylor Heineke or an Easton Stick, right? A Heineke who's been a backup, who's been a starter, and then Easton Stick, who's been on the roster since day one. He was drafted there. He's been a backup his whole career. So I think you may see a little bit more of J.K. and Gus Edwards. Right? But then also you got to look at, I think the right tackle goes down. I think the left tackle got hurt as well. So Alt and Slater are both kind of like, what's going to happen on their availability? So then that changes things up again because you really have to run because
you can't protect them, right?
You can't protect them, right? So, I mean, you're not, and if you are going to pass, it's going to be a lot of quick game stuff. And I mean, Greg Roman coming from Baltimore, his backup's not as athletic as he's used to having as a quarterback. Just to be quite honest, you know what I mean. So I mean, I think you could get a heavy dose of J.K. and Gus. I mean, they may mix in some stuff, and you just never know because with Jim and Greg Roman, there's no telling what they're going to give you because they are very smart guys and they know this game and they find ways to win with sometimes not what you would see on paper.
Yeah, so I mean, if I'm a Chiefs fan, I guess I would always be prepared for anything when it comes to obviously Jim and like you said with Coach Roman, maybe even multiple tight ends being on the field. I think one of there were also some injuries because the wide receiver Palmer hasn't came back yet. So
Josh Palmer's out still. Yeah,
they thought he might be prepared by week 4, but they said it doesn't look like he's coming back. So they signed Rager.
Jalen Rager.
Just got signed, so whether he's going to be active or not. But yeah, I mean, losing or going away and letting Mike Williams out the building and letting Keenan Allen out the building, I think that was the first sign that this offense is going to go old school. Going to go back to smash mouth football, running the ball downhill, and that was something that they did for the first. Like I said, averaging 10 yards a carry in the NFL is unheard of. And Roman, he was very familiar with Gus and Dobbins, both from coming from the Ravens. They knew his offense. They knew what to look for, the angles of where to intersect and where to cut. One cut up the field, positive yardage. But I think when you talk about the NFL, I know we know this, is that it's such a long season. And when you talk about the ground and pound and smash mouth football, when your guys up front are starting to get beat up a little bit and they start that wear and tear on them and guys are going down early in the season, I mean, it's hard to think that, you're going to get the same production out of the backup right and left tackle when it comes to, even when it's just run blocking. The pass blocking is going to be downgraded, but the run blocking, the offensive line, you're good when you're there together. When you got the same 5 or 6 guys are used to hearing the calls and stepping together and everything looks really good. Yeah. What we know is when those guys get replaced, one guy's 45-degree step and then somebody else 90-degree step, and it leaves that little crease for that defender to split it. And what an aggressive defensive line. The Chiefs, that's one thing they have done this year. Yeah. They played the run very well.
And you come in with a Chris Jones healthy and that defensive line, I mean, it's unbelievable at the level that those guys play at. Like watching them the other night, right? Like it's unbelievable. For 4 quarters, those guys are ears pinned back, nonstop, like just motors like you don't see. And this early in the season, especially as all of these teams are trying to find an identity of what they're going to be, right? We're only at the quarter pole of the season. There's still a long way to go. So there's a lot of teams, especially with how the preseason breaks out, the guys that they're playing their second game of the whole season, like from training camp on, like they haven't played, right? Because they don't play in the preseason. So like these guys are just getting their seasoned legs under them, you know what I mean, coming out of camp. So to see how these guys are playing now and starting to get into a groove, and they're already stopping the run the way they have been, I mean, it's only going to get better.
Yeah, we talk about defensively. One of the most important things is always communication. So how is the level of communication going? Are we communicating to the D-line? Who's penetrating? Who's two-gapping? Either it's always an either or. Either we have the D-line penetrating and then the linebackers have to then two-gap and, maybe fall back and do things to get into the gaps, or we asking the D-line to hold up two-gap so the linebacker shoot gaps and make tackles for loss. Mm-hmm. So they have to kind of work in concert. They got to work together. You can't have everybody penetrating. You can't have everybody two-gapping, because then you become like a picket fence and it becomes easy run lanes and gaps. And what you've seen is in the Chiefs defense, even if early in the game it looks a little picket fences, it looks like a little bit of we talk about the first drive of last week, ended with a 17-yard touchdown last week to Drake London because of miscommunication between Drew Tranquil and the cornerback on a fake screen release pattern.
Yeah.
We had nobody covering it. And I think the Chargers actually used that same pass against the Steelers to get on the board with Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, with Quentin, out the back,
The same thing. So obviously a copycat league, you see some things being used over and over again, but the communication on our defensive side has to be at an all-time high. We got to be always know what J.K. Dobbins is, know what Gus is, stop the run. And I think if the Chiefs can make the Chargers one-dimensional and make whoever's playing quarterback with those tackles being a little bit beat up, whoever's playing quarterback, if we can make them a little bit uneasy, get after the passer, make it a one-dimensional game, I think all that kind of pours into the favor of the Chiefs. But the Chiefs are facing some things also. It's been a slow start for Travis Kelce. He's been one of the most consistent tight ends in the league, year in and year out, 1,000 yards, 100 receptions. And he's kind of almost walking out of the stall right now. I mean, just haven't got up the pace. Pace. What are your thoughts about what's going on with Travis right now?
Well, I mean, again, I think it's just can't speak for him or against him because he's one of the greatest tight ends to play the game, right? But I think, it's just getting a feel for how things are going. Because offensively, like you talk about it, the Chiefs are winning games, but it's not the same Chiefs offense we've seen, 30, 40 points a game, right? It's 22-17, 22-18. The last play of the game against Baltimore, I mean, they're closer.
Last drive, yep. All three games been the last drive. Yep.
And when you're a quarterback who, Patrick Mahomes, as great as he is, comes out and says, we're just not playing like we play, right? And the defense, if you like talking about that defense, the defense has really kept them in all three of those games. To be honest, I mean, the last play against the Ravens could have gone either way. Now, he was out of bounds.
That big toe.
I mean, if he had a size 12.5 instead of 13, he might have been in.
Yes, sir.
But the defense has been playing so good. And, I mean, look, it's going to be a matter of time before that offense gets going and Patrick and Travis start doing the things that they've been doing for all these years, right? It's just the Chargers defense has been playing so well this year so far as well that's kind of going to be a good battle for me is can the Chiefs offense get clicking against this defense that's been playing really, really well? Now, Bosa's been hurt, but then you throw in Bud Dupree, who's still got a lot of juice, and Khalil Mack can still come up the edge, and the guys on the inside, and then you bring Denzel Perriman back in the middle, who's just a football player. Like, the dude just loves the game of ball. I remember when we drafted him in the second round out of Miami, and he walked in the building, everybody was like, wait a minute, who's this 5'6", 220-pound middle linebacker?
Yes,
and
sir.
then all of a sudden, here he's still rolling, and the dude, like they kept telling us, like he's the thumper. He'll come downhill and freaking hit you and make you rethink that hole next time. And sure as crap, dude, we watched him in the first preseason game, and he did it. And we were like, who is this guy? And he's still doing it at a high level. And then on the outside, we've got some guys out there with Asante Samuel and Derwin James in the back, who unfortunately that suspension got upheld. I saw today, and that's just kind of crap. But
I that was one of the things I was thought.
That's where the league is going, right? That's just where they're going. I think that's bad.
I shake my head on that one because that guy, I mean, you play too hard, you put too much into sacrifice, prepare yourself for a season, for the league to take away a game because of something like, I mean, again, I just don't think his history shows that he's a dirty player, So maybe a financial fine, takes half a game to whatever you want to do that way, but not allowing you. I mean, your career is only so long. You only have so many games. That's the one thing that I think players, you really don't want the league to start taking and suspending you for games just because limited amount of playing time. So
losing him, that's going to be big, right? Losing him because over the last couple of years since he got in the league, that's been the matchup of the whole weekend when the Chiefs and Chargers played was Derwin and Travis.
Yeah.
Like that, you know what I mean? Like that.
That's right.
Everyone tunes into that game to watch Derwin and Travis play because Derwin's physical and Travis can take it, and Travis is savvy. Travis has that Gatesy, savviness to him where he can shake you out of your shoes and just run a little easy route and turn into 20 yards. and Derwin will cover you, right? I mean, so that's kind of the unfortunate part of this weekend. But I still think the Chargers defense will step up and try and make it tougher on the Chiefs offense that hasn't kind of started clicking as we would expect. And losing Pacheco is hard because him out of the backfield is so hard to guard.
Yeah, cool. So listen, we're going to close in the second segment. I'm going to come back and speak a little bit more about the details of what's going on Sunday when the Chiefs go out and play the Chargers. This is the process where the process is always greater when it produces. This is your guy, Shawn Barber, my guy, Mike Scifres. We'll be right back at you in one moment.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
All right, once again, we're back at the process where the process is always greater than what it produces. We talk about fundamental building blocks of what you're doing in life and how we're executing. We're talking about the Chiefs versus Chargers and how this game is going to unravel. I got my man Mike Scifres. He's a 13-year. I consider him a 14-year vet, but he said he had a cup of coffee during training camp with the Carolina Panthers. But a storied career, one of the 50th member of the 50th anniversary team for the San Diego Chargers. So, man, just a mountain of a man, great father, great provider for his family. So we love having guys like him on the show because it always shows that the process is greater than what it produces. Though he has some great production in his life and his career, it still came down to sacrifice, dedication, preparation, the film study, all the things that no matter what position on the football field you play, for you to be the best you can be and be consistent over a long term, you have to do these same steps over and over and over again, where the normal, the unusual becomes very normal. The standard, what Mike Tomlin says, the standard is the standard. And our standard was very high in order to play 10 plus years in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Some people think it's not for long. So,
right.
We was fine tuning some of the things that we think we're going to see on Sunday. Obviously, there's been some, like we said, the continuation of the Chiefs' backfield. We finished up last game with Carson Steele and Samaje Perine. We added actually Kareem Hunt back to practice squad status, and so some people think that he's going to be activated and active this week. So you might see a little bit of a three-headed monster when it comes to the Chiefs' running game. Finding a way to get Kelsey the ball a little bit earlier in the game. I think that, in these last few games, there's been some times if you really watch the All-22 where he does come open, but he comes open so late in the route. Sometimes Patrick has already moved on to Rashee Rice or somebody else as an option. And so sometimes that normal, what we're used to, Patrick and Kelsey having that sixth sense of where each other are, I don't think it's lost. It just they haven't had to use it as much because honestly, Rashee Rice has been getting so open, creating so much separation. It would almost be silly not to throw him the ball because I think he's either one or two when it comes to NFL as far as yards after catch right now, through 3 weeks of the season. So Patrick and Rashee are finding a good amount of finding yin and yang, finding each other when it comes to making first downs and making touchdowns. And then there's always been a plethora of options. We got the rookie out of Texas, Worthy. We got a tight end from TCU, Wiley. Noah Gray, a guy just extended another tight end. So there's so many options I think that the Chiefs have. I don't see the necessity. Obviously, when you're 3-0, you don't see the necessity of anything. You're winning ball games. But I don't think it's time to press the panic button and trying to force feed Kelsey the ball right now. I think you continuously just play the game. There's going to be some natural times where he becomes open. And I think, like you said, the one thing we're going to miss in this matchup is we don't get to see him go against Darwin James. But there's going to be some other matchups all across the field. When it comes to the Chargers offense against the secondary of the Chiefs, we got McDuffie, we got Williams, we got Watson, we got Shamari O'Connor, we got Justin Reed. We got some guys that I think match up pretty well against, is it Ladd McConkey?
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Ladd.
McConkey in the slot. Yeah.
McConkey in the slot, and then Quentin Johnson on the outside. So what do you think would be some concepts that maybe the Chargers use to kind of get those guys open?
I mean, I don't know. They may end up, depending who plays quarterback, you just don't know. There may be some too tight situations. There may be some, I don't know, honestly, to see what they're going to do. And I don't know that they, as of 25 on a Wednesday afternoon, quite know, right? Like once they get into practice and kind of get all those things going. But again, I think Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh are going to put their heads together and come up with a plan, regardless of who's playing quarterback and regardless of who they have out there. I just think that it's a different belief in that building from the players than we've seen in the past. That Jim's a proven winner. Everywhere he's been, he's won. I mean, and I think the players have bought into that. And regardless who's on the field, it's the next man up mentality, which we grew up in. Yes, right? Sir. Like that's just what it's been, and that's what it's going to be. So if Rashawn Slater can't go, who goes next? And then with them adding, like a Nick Hardwick as an assistant O-line coach, having him in that building around those guys and those players is unbelievable, right? For them, because he's that kind of player. Next man up, shoot, I got hurt. Who's going to play for me?
Exactly.
Right? And so now I just got to I have to prepare the next guy. And so it's a great opportunity for whoever steps in to learn how to be a pro and figure this thing out to prolong their career, right? Like the backup's now going to have to study as the starter. Whereas before, he just went in and took the scout team reps and waited for his turn.
Yeah. Well, I think that from a defensive standpoint, the thing I would be ready for is I would be ready for a bunch of bunch sets, a lot of tight sets, kind of trying to make sure that I have some bodies within 3 or 4 yards of my, if I'm the offense, setting a tight end a few yards out outside my tackle, or having a running back queen set or something, just to make sure that the defensive end doesn't feel like they are just have a free path to the quarterback. Yeah. Somebody that might chip you or might double you or might do something to you just to try to slow you down just a hair to give my guys so a little bit more advantage if they're fighting some injuries or the backups are in there. So maybe some condensed formations. I really don't want to see a bunch of spread, because then I think that allows the Chiefs to go man to man.
Yeah,
when they go man to man,
we'll spread it out.
Yeah, if you spread it too wide, you go man to man, and then we can start bringing pressure with all these. And that's the one thing when it comes to protection. Yeah. You got young guys that are not used to being in there. That's when it gets real tricky, right?
Yeah.
Who do you stay on? Who do you come off? Is the running back taking this extra guy, or so a lot of those counts in how to protect the guy, whoever it is back there.
Yeah.
I think when you keep the formation condensed, it will help some of the running game, some tall sweeps and things like that. It can be really block down, reach around. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to the passing game, more of like spacing concepts, right?
Yeah.
Or route spacing concepts, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hand really quickly. Quick. So you can kind of help protect those tackles. So I think we'll see some of those concepts early on. And then in retrospect, or in return, I think the Chiefs will probably play things very vanilla. For the first half. Kind of just play it vanilla, be very gap conscious, be communicating. Let's keep them in front of us. Let's not give up any cheap ones like we did last week. Obviously, watching the film, the Chargers got a cheap one against the Steelers last week, and maybe just trying to force the Chargers to go 80 yards. Can this team go 80 yards and then punch it in the red zone? If we keep them snapping the ball and don't give them anything over the top, can they execute, right? Can they execute a game plan and really move the ball down the field? I think you'll see kind of a sparring in the first half. And then in the second half, I think you'll see some haymakers get thrown defensively, some pressure, some man stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I see the game unraveling, kind of going as far as a game plan standpoint.
Well, and I don't put anything past, right? Like, Herbert didn't practice all last week and then all of a sudden went out to pregame and played, right? So you just never know what's going on. And they do a good enough job up there keeping things under wraps about how guys are feeling and, you know, the injury reports and all that stuff. So, you know, you just never know. You won't know until Sunday morning, like, who's going to play quarterback, because they won't announce it. You know what I mean? So I think the Chiefs will probably prepare for Justin, even though he did lead the game last weekend. Mm-hmm. Like, I would almost think you have to prepare for him, because he's that type of guy that, like, from what I hear up there, he just wants to play at all costs. He wants to be there for his guys, just like he expects his guys to be there for him. So I wouldn't put it past them, you know, to get him ready to try and go, just because it is a big divisional game. But I could also see the other side of it, where it's like, hey, man, this is a long year. Let's just kind of let him heal up for these next 2 weeks and then make this the rest of the season run.
Yeah, somebody's got to be thinking about the future of the organization. Correct. It's just this 1 week, 1 game mentality.
Yeah.
So,
all
right. With that being said, man, let's you know, predictions for the game. You're the guest, so I'll let you go first. Obviously,
I think it is going to be like the AFC West battles that we know. You know, I think it's going to
prepare for the battle and pray for peace. Pray for peace.
No doubt. It's going to be a hard-fought game. And look, the Chiefs-Chargers games are always close. Like, I don't ever remember seeing a blowout game, right? I don't ever remember being a part of a blowout. Well, maybe 1 or 2 on our end, but
how about go down to the wire also?
I think this is going to go. I mean, this is going to take 60 minutes. I do think that the home team is going to pull it out. I'm going to go. Dicker's going to kick a game winner, 17-14.
17-14. That game winner is going to have to be like a 60-yarder too. It's going to be one of those ones where
he's got it in him. Dicker's got it in him.
Like, unleash the beast, bro. Like, this is our chance.
Dicker's got it in him.
Oh, man. Like, I do think it's going to be a game. If I was betting Vegas, I think the over-under is 39. So I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I don't know if it's going to be under 39, though. I think it might be maybe 43. So I got 23-20. I got the Chiefs winning the same. I think it's somehow, some way, due to turnovers or penalties, whatever it is, it's going to be a tightly fought game.
Yeah.
Some haymakers here, maybe somebody falling down and giving up a touch. Weird things happen when you talk about the AFC West. It's the wild, wild West. So
yeah, no doubt.
Coming down to the fourth quarter, one team attempts a field goal with a minute left. The Chargers misses. I'll give just enough time to set up Harrison Butker to go the other way for a game-winning field goal.
Big Smooth, huh?
Big Smooth comes off big again and keeps the Chiefs undefeated. So I got it 23-20 Chiefs. I think you got it 20-17 Chargers. So we'll see how it goes this weekend. So, man, appreciate your time. Man, always, man, love having you on.
No, appreciate it.
Listen, prayers and blessings for your family. Keep doing what you're doing, Mike. I love you like a brother, man. So, hey, guys, this is The Process, where the process is always greater than what it produces. We're going to wrap up this week's show. The Chiefs go out, play at the Chargers. We'll see that on Sunday. We'll be right back at you next week, next Friday, as we preview Week 5 versus the Chiefs. So without more being said, man, this is Shawn Barber. The process is always greater than what it produces. That'll wrap it up for Week 4. I'll be back with you next week. Peace.